Hi guys. So sorry about this. Hey Marsha, can you hear me? Oh, thanks guys. So sorry about this. Ah, brilliant. Amy's just going to share the link over on Everything Art again to fix it. I am so sorry. So sorry. I don't know what happened to my internet. It just decided to crash. So thank you so much for tuning in. I know. I know. I thought I had everything set up and then I just made sure my iPad was disconnected from the Wi-Fi. Okay. So, I'll just carry on and what I'll do is I will just share my process and what I'm doing. So the theme of the the live is to find time when you don't have any. So just sharing with you guys some of my supplies and what we're gonna be doing is yes. So I have a problem which I think many of you share is that I collect a lot of journals and and what happens is that you have all these journals and you never end up using them, which is something that I have a problem as well. I admit it. It's a collection, but I've decided to try and use them. So I have some of my journals here, and what I do is when I do find time, I use multiple journals in one go. So what we're doing is that I'm going to be working in like one or two of my journals at a time, and we are just going to be going with it. So just diving straight in is that this is one of my journals that I made with some of my gel prints, and thank you so much for tuning in back in, guys. Thank you so much, and apologies about the oh, about the about my Wi-Fi. So this is just something that I have a disc bound punch, and what I did was I cut my papers down to size, and I just cut down my gel prints to fit into this journal, and I just put them on. And the best thing is that if I want to work on a page, I can just take it out just like that, and I can work on that page, and then once I'm done, I can just pop that right back in. This is one of my favorite ways to art journal. And today I'm going to be working in moleskin album. And this is something that I especially started for myself. So this was just like one of those things that I was like, oh, I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save this journal for a very special kind of theme or do whatever. And then I thought to myself, I've had this journal. Honestly, I've had this journal for probably like over 5 years, and I've never used it. And I thought, okay, now is the best time for me to use it. So what I did was I decided to force myself to not only start working in this pristine brand new journal, but also keep things very, very simple. Because I don't know about you guys, but I tend to overcomplicate things. And I tend to use all the things all at the same time, and just basically just overwhelm myself, and then I end up getting analysis paralysis, and I just, just stop myself from crafting. So what we're gonna do is, I don't know why this image is mirrored, but I am not going to mess with that right now. So apologies if the text is appearing mirrored. So we're just gonna keep it as it is for now. Um, I don't want to lose you guys again. Please stay with me. So, what I would like for you to do with your crafting uh, is to sort of rethink your process and think about working in chunks. So instead of making a whole art journal page in one go, I would like you to think about what processes you go through when you make a finished art journal. So this can be applied to cards as well, to canvases. But art journals are some of my favorite ways to create art in, because they're quick and easy to make. Oh, it looks fine to you guys. Brilliant. I don't know why it appears mirrored in my screen, but again, I'm not gonna mess with that. So, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start working on it, and then I'm gonna talk you through what I do when I can't find time. So I have my things here on the side. I have my paints. I'm using some golden uh, fluid acrylics here. I've got my paintbrushes. I've got my tub of water here as well. And I have my little quote here as well, which is something that I've been thinking about a lot, is out of limitations comes creativity. This is a Tim Holtz stamp. And I find that when I limit myself to very few supplies, I find that I am most creative, because it forces me to use that product in many different ways. So what I did was, I do have this moleskin. It's actually not that great of a art journal to work in. I really love the size of it. And the thing is that I've tried so many journals. It's all about finding the one that works for you. I love the size of this, and the paper is all right. I wish it was smoother, and I wish it would hold mediums a little bit better. And then I have this other one, which is like a no brand one, and the paper is the worst for mixed media, but for some reason I love using it because it's textured and it's handmade, and I just love it. And mediums behave in an absolutely, strange way and unpredictable way, and I love that. So that's something that I love that, because then it stops me from overthinking it. So just to show you guys an example, this was just the same paints, but used indifferently. So I made this art journal background, but then I had paint left over. So all I did was I just took some of that paint and I smashed it down with a credit card onto my other art journal, so that this way I have a background that I can work on. So just having a quick look at the comments. Yeah. So it's about trying to find a journal that works best for you, which is why I like making my own journals with paper that I love working on. And that way I can just work on the paper and then stick it back inside my disc bound journal when I'm done with it. But yeah, I've got loads of these. So Stephanie, you're saying I need to get a cheap one. I don't mind messing up. Now, when are you gonna use the ones that you've been saving? When you think you're gonna be good enough. What I would like for you to do is, I know you've got that special journal that you're saving. I would like for you to dig that out and just make something in it, just so that it's not so precious anymore. Because at the end of the day, this is just paper. it's just paper and it's supposed to give us joy. And what's the point of it if it's just sitting there giving you anxiety? Um, so yeah. So what is that kind of binding called? So these are just normal books. They're stitched, so they're lay flat, which I love. This is a disc bound binding. So you can get a disc bound punch and you can just remove the paper and you get these discs. And once you're done working on your paper, you just, just clip it back in. I love it. So to start off, what we're going to do is I am going to talk to you about how to make time. So for me, making time means that I break down my process of how I art journal into different parts, and I like to call it craft admin, creative admin. Now, creative admin, the phrase creative admin, unfortunately, doesn't sound very sexy, does it? But it is what it is. Life is sometimes has its sexy moments, but sometimes, most of the times, it doesn't. It's messy, it's wonderful, it's unpredictable, and sometimes you just don't have the time. So, what I like to do is I like to break down my process into different parts. So, for example, I'll think about what kind of things that I love doing. So, I'm not going to gesso this, but if you are someone who likes using gesso, um, then you can put down a layer of gesso. And if you only have 5-10 minutes, that's all you can do. Take out your journal, have it set out, use your gesso on your paper, set it aside. And that's your 5 minutes of creativity done. And you can do like work in several journals at the same time. And it doesn't sound very appealing at first, but trust me, when you just make 5 minutes for yourself and just do like a quick round of like art journaling in your um quick round of just do a quick round of like just putting gesso down, just put a lick of paint down, or like I like to put in a lot of cutouts into my art journal pages, which is something we're going to do as well. So if you have time, you're sitting in front of the TV, then all you can just bring your magazines down and you can sit down with your scissors and you can just do a cutout, and that's a creative session done as well. That counts, honestly, that counts. So just explaining what I'm doing is I don't have any gesso on my page because sometimes I love how paper just reacts to when it's ungessoed. But if you want to do, you could gesso it as well. So gesso is basically preparing your art journal surface uh, for the paint so that it sits on the paper really well. So what I've done is I've put down some paint, so two different colors of paint, and what I've done is I have loaded up my paintbrush. So I've placed the bits of paint side by side, and I've loaded up my paintbrush so that and kind of dabbed it so that I'm kind of forming like a gradient kind of effect, if that makes sense. So, and I have just a tiny amount of water on my paintbrush, and I have a rag on the side which I wipe my paintbrush on. And I've just loaded up my paintbrush a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I am just going to do a quick swirl and create some really rough circular shapes, just like that. I'm not going to worry about how perfect it is or, whether it looks right or whatever. uh, the idea is not perfection here. The idea is just spend some time getting some paint on your hands and just have fun. That is the aim of today. The aim is to get rid of all of that negative energy that we have around creativity, that, oh, I need to find like a whole 2-3 hours so that I can make like this masterpiece. But reality is sometimes we just don't have that time. And I'm just making some really rough circular shapes. I'm not really bothered about the spacing or the size or what they look like. And I'm kind of experimenting with how much paint I have on there as well. And that doesn't take very long. And to be honest, this is like the most relaxing thing ever for me. And I'm not going to worry about normally because I have this time blocked off to spend with you guys. Basically, this is work, but it doesn't feel like work because this is I am playing and I'm having the time of my life. And normally, what I would do is I would just sit and make maybe like a couple of circles, or just quickly do a whole page and then just walk away and not worry about finishing it. So yeah, it's called disc bound journals. You know, like they have the happy planners. Though that's like a disc bound system. That's the punch that I use. But you don't have to use the happy planner branded one. If you just do a search for disc bound punch, then you will see like a couple of results. And yeah, and then it's all about making things as simple for yourself as possible. And yes, it is relaxing for me. I absolutely just love just sitting there and just zen out for a few minutes and just spend some time just making some messes, doing some art, and just giving myself that space to just make messes, make mistakes. If it's not perfect, I'm not going to worry about it because at the end of the day, it's just paper. And if I mess it up, then I can just put another layer of paint on top, another layer of gesso on top, and just cover it up. And I'm making sure to leave white space. White space is something that I've really incorporated a lot into my art recently. It used to be something that I was scared of, and I'm like, oh, how am I supposed to stop myself? But trust me, if sometimes just holding yourself just a tiny amount and allowing your design to breathe, just it's something that really speaks to me. It's not for everyone. Sometimes the more is more approach is what makes people happy. But these days, because I'm all about how can I make things less complicated for myself, being a new mom and not really having the time, but still wanting to get my kind of like creative fix in. What can I do? So it's all about simplifying. And just like that, the art journal page is done. Hey Cheryl, hope you're doing all right. Good to see you. My old work colleague Cheryl is here as well. Oh, that's lovely. What color of red is that? That's not red. It's a fluorescent. So this is an Amsterdam uh, paint, and it's called Reflex Rose. And the yellow that I was using is, should I try pronouncing that? I'm not going to try pronouncing that, but that is what is called benzimidazole yellow medium. This is a golden fluid acrylic. And I love mixing different bodies of paint together. So you shouldn't have to worry about mixing and matching your different paint kinds, paint brands, or paint bodies. So I'm just going to quickly set this aside just for a few minutes, and I'm going to bring my other art journal over. I've got some paint on my paintbrush, and I'm just going to not worry about what's on that page, and I'm just going to get rid of all that delicious color there. And that's another page where I clean my paintbrush. And let me so I've got the rest of my paint here, and what I'm going to do is I am just going to smash that down onto my art journal page. And you can see that, like I mentioned before, this paper is textured. So I just love how, just by doing this, the texture of the paper is getting picked up by the paint. I mean, look at that. And just like that, you have an art journal background to work on. And you've not wasted any paint as well. So what I can do is I'm just going to set this to the side as well. And I'm going to bring back my art journal page. Here, it's still a little bit damp. I might give it a blast with my heat tool. I'm just going to dab it a little bit as well. But before I do that, I let it dry a little bit more. And I will bring my ephemera over. And we can do some cutting. So this is another process that I like doing. You get a lot of junk mail come through. You get magazines and things like that. I tend to keep some of them. I have a little box that I allow myself to keep. If that box is full, then if I want to add something to it, then I need to get rid of something. So that kind of keeps me in check, so that I don't have too much ephemera. Is there such a thing as too much ephemera? And then I also have this very trashy biography here. And what I love about it is it's like full of these phrases that are that just kind of speak to you, and some of them are like pretty outrageous, and they make great sentiments to use in art journal pages. So I'm just ripping out a couple of pages and I can use those. And I also have a secondhand butterfly and moths book. Quickly flip through those, and maybe we'll use that butterfly there. And just tear this page out as well. And I'm not putting too much thought into this. And what I like to do is, if I'm overthinking something, I just make myself to count like up to 5. And if I have a choice between things, I just make myself count up to 5 and just finally say, okay, after 5, you just have to decide. And that's kind of helped me, not just in my creativity, it helped me in my life as well, because I used to be a pretty indecisive person. And now I just make decisions as quickly as I can. So, just having a quick look at the book nerd in me is crying. But Cheryl, that was definitely a trashy book, and it deserves to be cut up. And it was something that I just got in a charity shop for just like £1, and it was in bad shape already. So, which meant that I didn't feel too bad about cutting it up. So what I'm doing is I am cutting out the butterfly as well. So again, this doesn't have to be something that you have to spend too much time doing. What I'm going to doing, I want to place the butterfly's wings behind this image. And I kind of really love that she's got the word love written on her shirt. So I am just going to cut out. You can spend as much time as you want being really careful. And if you got a lot of fine details like hair, I don't worry about them. I just kind of like roughly cut out like a just the hair. I don't worry about the small strands too much. But if you want, if you've got the time, then you can do that. And sometimes just sitting down and doing some fussy cutting can be very, very relaxing as well. So painting the circles, such a, yeah, just having a look at the comments. Yeah, if I could show you guys, if we have time towards the end, I can show you some of my collections of ephemera that I like using. I've got vintage books, I've got ledgers, I've got vintage letters as well. Sometimes you can go to like a antique shop and get really, really inexpensive bundles of old letters and postcards, which I think are absolutely fabulous for using in art journals for backgrounds as well. So that literally took me just a couple of minutes to cut out. And what I want to do is I'm not going to cut the butterfly wings apart just yet, because I know if I cut them apart, then I'm going to lose them. What words do I want to use in here? So just having a quick scan. I think I saw something on this one. Okay, I like this line. I couldn't be happier. It just says Nikki. Who knows who Nikki is? But I am going to snip that part out. And if you've got little tiny bits that you're afraid of losing, just have a little bowl and just pop your little tiny bits in there so that they don't get lost, because I am terrible for losing. I'm going to cut that out as well. That says all total nonsense, and make like a little, we just had the most fun making. I like that as well. What I love doing is sometimes you can just cut up words and just create a little, like a little story for yourself. Now, because I had that art journal page at a kind of like a tilt, some of that paint has been moving around, but that's fine. That's fine. And I am just going to use this scrap piece of paper to lift some of that paint up as well. And what that does is, because some of it wasn't dry, it lifted up. Oh, I do like that. Happy accidents. We love them. I'm just going to place her to the side for now. And what I'm going to do is we're going to do some finger painting, because sometimes we get too caught up in keeping our hands clean, and sometimes you just need to get your hands messy. So let's pretend that that's an art journal page that I did on another day, and I've come back to it on another day, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, what's the next step? So with me, you can't go wrong with doing some black dots. So I'm just using my finger, a very, very fancy, highly sophisticated tool, to create these rough dots. And again, I'm not thinking about this too much. But actually, I'm going to put a tiny bit of thought into it. And I want to create like a visual triangle. So that's one point of the triangle. Then I want to place a few dots up here. I like that some of my fingerprint is actually showing up in some of these dots. If you don't want to mess up your fingers, then you can use the end of a paintbrush or use a pen as a dotting tool as well. So like I've created like a visual kind of triangle here. So I'm just using up as much of that paint that is on there as possible. Is anyone crafting here as well alongside, or is everyone just watching? And then what you can do is, let's add, I've got some white paint here as well. And just taking some of that, oh, my paintbrush is a bit too damp. I don't want it to be too wet. So just going to take some of that paint and just place it on top, bringing back some of that white back into my dots. And again, not putting too much thought into this. If you wanted to, you could just use your pinky finger as well, or a pen, a back of a pen or something like that. Just having a quick look at the yeah, I mean, art journaling, that's the beauty of art journaling, guys, is like this. That's what Arlene is just saying, is that my junk journals don't have actual art in them. Art journals don't have to be perfect. That's why I love them. They can be anything that you want them to be. You can draw in them, you can just paint in them. Sometimes when I don't have the time, I'll just sit and do swatches if I can't be bothered to make something creative. When you have moments where you're not feeling like you don't have the mojo and you're not sure what to do, but you still want to be creative, these are the kinds of things that I like doing for that. You can do swatches. You can sit and cut paper up as well. If you have a die cutting machine, then you can just die cut some of your pretty papers. I know you guys have stashes of pretty papers. And I've got some paint on there, some of that black and white. And again, I'm just going to smash that on there. There wasn't that much, and it was pretty dry. But again, I love how that texture of that paper is being picked up by the paint. So we've got that done. I'm just going to quickly blast it with my heat tool just to dry it a bit as well. Color swatches. Oh yes, this something so very satisfying about doing color swatches. It's anything that's like repetitive and doesn't require a lot of thinking. That is ultimately like really, really relaxing for me. So just turning on my heat tool. Yeah, you can't go wrong with circles. You can't go wrong with circles. Now, because I didn't put too much paint on there, it's mostly dry. And I'm just mindful that the time is coming to a close soon. So what I might do is I'm just going to quickly glue this down, and I'll continue talking about what I'm doing is, so if you wanted to, you could just use matte medium. But if I'm using like really thin paper, sometimes I just like using a glue stick and then going over it with some matte medium just to seal something in. But do make sure that if you're adding any doodling on top of your image, make sure that whatever medium you're using on top doesn't react with water again, because if you're adding matte medium on top of something like a Stabilo pencil, then it will react to it again. It might smear your design, so do be careful about things like that. And I wanted to add the wings behind her, but we can just snip them a little bit and just tuck them in there. I love this glue. It dries clear. And then afterwards, when I'm done, is I can just quickly seal it afterwards when I'm done. And let me just lift her shoulder up a bit and just tuck that in. I just love butterflies. Butterflies, this art journal page basically symbolizes everything that I love. Like mark making, butterflies and circles and dots. Zentangle and slow drawing. Oh, definitely. Definitely. I love Zentangles. So what are we going to, let's have a look at the word out. So we just had the most fun making total nonsense. I love that. And it ends with I couldn't be happier. I love this. See, just like that, I just cut out a few random snippets right in front of you guys. I did not plan this, but somehow it came together into the perfect phrase for the art journal. Well, how about that? So I'm just going to quickly. Amy, just checking. Am I okay to just go over by a few minutes? Could I be happier? And just pushing that down, putting that down, and I couldn't be happier. Oh, I love that. And then this isn't definitely not the end. What you can do is you can go over it with your markers, with your water-soluble crayons. I've got some Caran d'Ache here. What color do I fancy putting? Do I want to put in a third color? I do, actually. I want to put in this green. I don't know why I'm loving green these days. So these are the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be drawing some lines, but with my non-dominant hand. So I am right-handed. I'm just going to add some random lines here and there because I feel like it. A part of me inside is just going like, no, what are you doing? But you know what? I'm committed now. And I like how that turned out, actually. Just going to thicken up some of these lines, actually, so that it looks a bit more green. And because these are water soluble, if I wanted to, I can put some more water on them and get them to spread around a little bit more. There. That's just the right amount of lines that I want. And what you can do is, if you have like a graphite pencil, I have a Stabilo all pencil here. You can just add some scribbly lines around your ephemera, whatever you decide to stick down. I just love doing this because I feel like it helps to get the kind of ephemera to kind of marry into your background a little bit more. And then you could just use an ordinary pencil as well. I love doing that, adding some more scribbly lines. I'm being really rough here, not being careful at all. Just going to add like a little bit of shadow here under her wings and ground her hair a little bit as well. Yeah, shading there and some shading there. And honestly, you could just go back. I know I want to cut out like a little crown for her here. I might want to add some more paint marks here. But at this point, I'm gonna call this done. So I'm just gonna flip my camera around. Everyone, I wanted to say thank you so much for joining in, and apologies about the technical issues. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, do leave them in the comments, and make sure to check out the rest of the live streams as well. And if you would like to join, do make sure to join Wanderlust 2023 as well. My lesson will be later in the year, but I'm really looking forward to it as well. And also, if you want, you can buy one of these aprons as well. They're very fun. Thank you so much for joining in. Take care. Have a great day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks. Bye.